Hi there, Brian and Joshua. This is Chris Tipton-King, and I'm going to be presenting the production strategy for 24/7 Saline. My group members are Jimmy Defebaugh and Wes Culwell. So I want to highlight a few elements of the pre-production. We're going to be in pre-production for 8 weeks. Fundraising is going to be a large component of that, and we're planning on raising $325,000 to produce the 7-episode series, which works out to $50K an episode. Clearance is going to be important. As it stands now, the script has a lot of brand names, and so either clearing those brand names or replacing them, and I haven't spoken with Jimmy, and he's okay with replacing those with generics. There's also a lot of referencing of Hollywood and TV tropes, and so we want to make sure that those are clear before we shoot. Casting is going to be a big process. We have 6 principal characters, and then there's several scenes in the first 2 episodes that feature hordes of zombies. So background players and stunts, as the zombies do a lot of munching of innocent bystanders and each other, etc. That's going to take some casting work to do with the background players. There is a child actor, and so having a studio teacher on set is going to be a requirement. Securing locations, we're going to talk about that more in detail later. Production and equipment insurance, we are renting lenses and renting grip and electric gear, and so having equipment insurance is going to be required there. Location insurance, so we're shooting one of our big locations is a shopping mall, and there's no easy way around in the story shooting in a space which is clearly in a mall, and so they're almost certainly going to require us to have location insurance for that. Errors and omissions insurance, and a lot of pre-production work is going to be in wardrobe and makeup department, prepping all the zombie wardrobe and makeup, which is going to be somewhat involved. Moving ahead here, I want to talk about how we're planning on getting locations. So the script calls for a hospital waiting room, and nothing in the script is really necessarily specific to a hospital. Getting an actual hospital space is probably going to be next to impossible, and so rather than probably construct something on the soundstage, we're going to take an existing similar space like a doctor's office or chiropractor or something that's not in use 24/7, and dress that appropriately. The family house, we're doing on location, leveraging networks of family and friends to do that, rather than constructing on a soundstage, which would be expensive to rent and do all that construction. Shooting in the mall. Now this is going to be the trickiest and most expensive part of the movie in terms of locations. One option would be to offer the mall a tie-in to do some product placement. We are going to have to be careful not to accidentally shoot a whole bunch of store names and logos, either framing that out or doing digital replacement. And if we're unable to get it kind of weekday morning, because this is a daytime scene, we're going to have to do it night for day and bring in tons of lighting gear. But it is critical, because the script calls for that. It's critical to actually get like a mall atrium. The graveyard, we could do that on location. I'm a bit concerned about the whether graveyards, since there's actual people buried there, how amenable they'd be to letting a crew in. And so I think it'd be fairly feasible to construct our own set, especially since this is a very campy script. It would be appropriate that it be kind of a campy, lo-fi looking graveyard. Fairly easy to construct that out of Halloween decorations. Liquor store, I've seen enough low-budget short films featuring liquor stores that I figure that must be fairly easy to get one to for not too much of a location fee to let us shoot there, and we'll just do that when they're closed and do that. The script doesn't specify, at least the description of the episode doesn't specify day or night, and so it could be whenever they find it most convenient for us to be in there. The rave. Now, later on in the series, there's a character who gets stuck at a rave out in the middle of nowhere and then wanders into the woods nearby. And fortunately, there's no interiors in the script. And so just getting some guerrilla exterior shots of some already scheduled rave rather than staging our own is probably going to be a bit more cost effective. Shooting in the woods, I would like to get a permit for that, rather than doing it, Golden Gate Park without a permit, and because we may have a fairly large setup there. Moving on, we'd like to shoot all the episodes simultaneously to kind of maximize our resources. And we're going to target shooting 4 to 5 pages a day with no more than 30 shooting days total. And I've taken the episode descriptions and done kind of this macro day out of days schedule, which is minimizing the number of days that Miguel, our child actor, or the child character, is going to be on set. Everyone is scheduled so that hopefully we're not going to have to do any holds, or the holds will be very minimal. I do hope to shoot each episode more or less in script order to get better performances out of the actors. But scheduling the episodes in this specific order, as you see across the top here, makes the most sense in terms of locations and resources and whatnot. So our shooting format, we're planning on shooting on 7D, primarily for budget reasons. The reason why I've chosen the 7D over the 5D is that the 7D has a deeper depth of field. The 5D is a bit more difficult to hold focus on during a moving shot, and so in the interest of time and make it easier on the focus puller, we'll use that APS-C format camera instead of the full frame camera. We do plan on running lenses. There's a Zeiss compact prime set available through VideoFax in the Bay Area, which runs $300 a day. We're likely to get a discount on that since we're a more low budget and kind of a student crude production. And so, and I have a good relationship with them, so that's probably something we can work out. Grip and Electric. I work at John Fontana's shop. John Fontana is one of the biggest gaffers in the Bay Area and has a ton of his own equipment and has 2 Sprinters, including a 3500 with the lift gate that you see in that picture. And using their gear whenever possible, I can get gear there for dirt cheap. Now, they don't have everything. So, for example, on that mall shoot where we're going to require a ton of gear to set up a large space, that's going to require probably renting a grip truck from DTC. Some challenges with the production. One of the biggest ones is going to be getting those locations, especially that mall location. You know, one of the rules of shooting low budget kind of small movies is that you shoot with a smallest cast and the fewest number of locations possible, and we're kind of breaking that here as we've got tons of locations and an ensemble cast. But since we are going for that camp aesthetic, I think that's going to help us out a lot in that we don't need to look like we're high budget. Large scenes with the background players all in makeup, so having a ton of zombies, getting them all in makeup, and kind of herding cats there in the mall scene is going to be somewhat difficult. Props, there are a lot of props. It's a very art department heavy film, so getting there's a scene in which the principal characters are beating off zombies with mannequin parts. So, not just borrowing props, but they have to be props that we can destroy. And getting prosthetics built and all that stuff for the zombies. Practical effects with all the kind of zombie stuff. Now, this is sort of a sci-fi-ish themed show, sci-fi fantasy-ish themed show. And so, again, art department and practical effects and trying to do things in camera. Again, that camp aesthetic. The effects don't have to look, super Hollywood glossy. The style, the Cousin Wonderland is a great example of that. The writing overpowers the fact that the props are not terribly high budget. That when they're beating each other up with the fetus, it doesn't have to look that great, and that can be part of the charm of the series. And then finally, working with a child actor, everyone warns you against doing that, and we've got a child actor in here, but unfortunately, it's just one, and hopefully we can leverage friends and family to find a child actor who's going to be easy to work with. Moving on, goals versus resources. So again, we're going for that camp aesthetic, going for the low budget look. So that's going to help us a lot in terms of resources. Product placement as a running gag. So it's possible that we can, there's a number of films which use product placement kind of tongue in cheek. there's a number of gay movies, gay feature films, which do that, which have tons and tons. NakedSword.com comes to mind, have tons and tons of product placement, and it's kind of a wink to the audience. They're not trying to pass it off as being entirely in the world of the film, and so that's a possibility to get help out with production resources. All of us that are working on the film are on the webisode series are SF State. Probably at this point going to be recent graduates, and so we have a whole network full of recent graduate friends that are starving for work and starving for material to put on their demo reel, and this would be a great thing to get them involved with, and so that can save us on labor costs and crew costs. Casting Katie, there's a teenage character, Katie, and casting her as an adult, as an actor over 18 is going to save us on a lot of resources. The actors in the film, we are planning on using SAG talent, and so we're going to be working with the SAG modified low budget since we are under $625,000 for the whole script, or for the whole budget. No high cost music licensing, local bands and whatnot, and Wes is going to talk a bit more about that in the next segment. And our group has, since we only have 3 members, we've split up the marketing and distribution plan, and I want to talk about a few pieces I was responsible for. So a great model for this show is Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. It's a 3-episode, they're about 14 minutes each, series that was made by Joss Whedon, features Neil Patrick Harris, and it was successful. It made its money back. It was a $200,000 project, and it was distributed online. It was actually made during the strike, the big strike in Hollywood around 2008, and this was to circumvent a lot of that. And they distributed on Amazon, pay-per-view on iTunes and Amazon and Hulu. It's $7.99 to buy all 3 episodes, or they're like $2.99 each to buy them on iTunes. And they also have a DVD with some fairly innovative extras. But it's a great example of how it is feasible to do these smaller scale projects for web and have them actually make money. And so for our distribution and marketing strategy, I'm going to be talking about festivals. Others in my group are going to be talking about other strategies for how we're going to market it. I envision packaging parts 1 and 2 of the first episode, the 2-part premiere, as a film to submit to festivals as a way of drumming up some buzz. Now, I don't imagine this having like a whole year-long festival run, because we want to get this out as fast as possible. And so we're just aiming on running at a few festivals, just enough to get us some buzz, get us some press coverage, and get people excited about seeing the rest of the series. The reason why I'm not packaging just part 1 is I feel that festivals would feel shortchanged, as part 1 leaves the cliffhanger, and that might be just too much of an obvious marketing strategy to be like, oh, come to our festival, see half the film, and then you have to watch the rest online. If festival is willing to do that, that'd be great. But otherwise, I think we're gonna package parts 1 and 2 together. And we're looking at a fantasy horror and camp film audience, and who embodies fantasy horror camp the best, I think, would be Peaches Christ, and the SF Underground Film Festival would be a great place for us to launch. That festival has great attendance, and it's the kind of milieu and the gestalt of the films shown there is a really good match for, I think, what we're doing. There is a zombie short film contest. Now, unfortunately, that has a 10-minute limit. We might consider coming up with a 10-minute edit of the first episode to submit to that. It's judged by some of the folks who worked on Dawn of the Dead, and so it would also be, we're talking about zombie culture. That's be a great place to be featured and drum up some interest in the web series. SF Shorts is another good target, an audience of savvy folks who like watching kind of the type of work that we're doing. I think that would be a great place to be featured. And minority festivals. So this is going to be depending on the casting. Just speaking from my personal experience with my film Boys and Girls, which featured both LGBT themes, and then it was also cast with 2 minority lead actors. I've had a lot of success with minority festivals, with Asian film festivals, and with LGBT festivals. And so if we have a principal who is minority, that would help us out a lot in getting screened at those venues. And that concludes my segment of the presentation. I'll be passing it off to Wes Culwell, who's going to be talking about the budget.